Did you ever hear about the time Queen Elizabeth II tried to race one of her own corgis against her racehorse? Buckle up, because this tale is one for the books. So our story begins in the heart of Britain, where Queen Elizabeth II, a well-known horse enthusiast and not to mention a corgi aficionado, decided to stage an impromptu race. But this wasn't your average horse race. Oh no, this was a face-off between a thoroughbred horse and a corgi. Yes, you heard that right, a corgi. Now, anyone who knows anything about these two species knows that one is built for speed and endurance, while the other, well, let's just say they're better suited to lounging on royal cushions. But our queen, ever the joker, was not to be deterred. In the spirit of good fun, she announced that she was considering placing a bet. But here's the kicker. The queen wasn't wagering on her racehorse, the obvious choice. No, she was considering backing her corgi. Now you can imagine the uproar this caused. The palace staff was in stitches, while the horse trainer was left scratching his head in disbelief. But the queen, with her signature dry wit, was unfazed. She merely quipped, "Haven't you heard? Corgis are surprisingly quick on their feet." Of course, it was all in jest. The queen, like any responsible pet owner, would never actually pit a corgi against a racehorse. But the incident did serve to highlight her playful spirit and deep affection for her pets, even in the face of absurdity. So, the next time you find yourself at the races, remember this story. And if you ever have the chance to place a bet on a royal corgi, remember the Queen's words. Because, in the end, it's not always about the odds. Sometimes, it's about the heart. And that, my friends, is why you never bet against a corgi in the royal household. Bill Gates, a genius in technology, but did you know he once tried to calculate the odds of his horse winning a race? Yes, you heard that right. The mastermind behind Microsoft, the man who revolutionized the world of computing, decided to try his hand at the unpredictable world of horse racing. Picture this, a sunny day at the races, and there's Bill Gates, not in an office surrounded by the hum of servers, but trackside, eyes squinting behind his trademark glasses as he watches his horse prance around the paddock. But Bill wasn't just there to enjoy the pomp and ceremony of the event. Oh no, he had a plan. You see, Bill had a theory. He believed that he could apply the same principles of software development to the unpredictable world of horse racing. He was convinced that through careful analysis and the application of a specially designed algorithm, he could accurately predict the performance of his horse. So, armed with data on everything from the horse's diet and exercise routine to its pedigree and past performances, Bill set to work. He crunched numbers, ran simulations, tweaked parameters, all in an attempt to calculate the odds of his horse winning the race. And then, the moment of truth arrived. The horses lined up at the starting gate. The crowd held its breath. The gates opened and they were off. But as the horses thundered down the track, it quickly became clear that something was amiss. Bill's horse, the one that according to his calculations should have been leading the pack, was lagging behind. Despite the predictions, despite the algorithms, despite the genius of Bill Gates himself, the horse finished last. And that, my friends, is the story of how one of the world's most brilliant minds learned a valuable lesson. That some things in life, like the outcome of a horse race, just can't be predicted. Even the most advanced algorithms and calculations can't account for the unpredictability of life. So much for that Microsoft edge, eh, Bill? Ever wondered what happens when Hollywood stars get into horse racing? Just ask George Clooney. Our beloved silver fox of Tinseltown, known for his charm, his wit, and a stellar acting career. But did you know he once fancied himself a bit of a horse racing aficionado? Well, aficionado might be a stretch. Let's call it a brief tequila-fueled dabbling. The story goes something like this. It was a sunny afternoon at the Santa Anita Park. A tequila bottle had been passed around a bit too liberally. You know how it is when the sun's out and the drinks are flowing. Things happen. Clooney, in a moment of what can only be described as tequila clarity, decided to place a bet on a horse. Not because of the horse's form or its racing pedigree, but because it shared the same name as his latest blockbuster. The horse, aptly named Ocean's 11, seemed like a sure bet to our star. After all, if art imitates life, why couldn't life imitate art? The race began, and Ocean's 11 shot out of the gates like a bat out of hell. For a moment, it looked like Clooney's hunch might just pay off. But then, much like the plot twist in a Hollywood drama, things took a turn for the worse. Ocean's 11 stumbled, fell behind, and ultimately didn't share the same success as its namesake film. To add a bit of salt to the wound, Clooney's friends didn't let him forget his equine misadventure. It became a running joke, a punchline at parties. But being the good sport that he is, Clooney took it all in stride. After all, the best stories are often the ones where things don't go quite as planned. So what did our Hollywood star learn from this horse racing escapade? Well, to quote the man himself, never bet on a horse just because it shares a name with your movie. Sage advice indeed. Guess it's back to the silver screen for George and maybe less tequila. David Beckham, a football legend but a horse racing novice. You won't believe what happened when he took a shot at the races. Now, we all know Beckham as a powerhouse on a soccer field, but when it comes to horse racing, let's just say he's more of a bench warmer. In a curious twist of fate, Bex decided to try his luck at the races. And not just any race, mind you, but the prestigious Royal Ascot. Our story begins with Beckham, in all his sartorial splendor, scanning the lineup of thoroughbreds. He was looking to diversify his sports portfolio, and what better way to do that than with a flutter on the horses? It was then that his eyes landed on a horse named Never Finish, a horse infamous for, you guessed it, never finishing a race. Now you might think, surely he wouldn't bet on a horse with such a reputation. But Beckham, ever the optimist, saw it as an opportunity. The odds were astronomical, but that didn't deter him. He placed his bet, confident that he could turn this horse's luck around. As the race began, Never Finish bolted out of the gates, surprising everyone. It was leading the pack, and Beckham, watching from the stands, couldn't help but beam. But then, in classic Never Finish fashion, the horse decided to take a detour. Instead of sprinting towards the finish line, it headed straight for the refreshment stand, much to the amusement of the spectators. Beckham, however, wasn't laughing. His optimistic bet had backfired in a spectacular fashion, but being the sportsman that he is, he took it on the chin. After all, it's all in the name of good fun, right? So next time you're betting on a horse race, remember this tale of Beckham's misadventure. Betting on the underdog might seem like a good idea, but make sure your horse at least has a track record of crossing the finish line. Looks like Beckham's horse couldn't bend it quite like he can. From queens to billionaires, Hollywood stars to football legends, it's clear that horse racing can be a wildly unpredictable affair. Our romp through the world of high-stakes horse racing has brought us face to face with some of the most intriguing and hilarious characters. We've seen royalty make royal blunders, billionaires bluff their way through the paddock, and Hollywood stars shine not on the red carpet, but in the muddy fields of the racetrack. And who could forget our football legends, who swap the turf for the track, only to find that the rules of the game are quite different when there are four legs involved. The key takeaway from our adventure is that horse racing is a game of chance where even the most seasoned of players can find themselves at the mercy of a mischievous mare or a stubborn stallion. It's a world where fortunes are won and lost in a blink of an eye, and where the finish line is always just a furlong away. We've chuckled at the royal misunderstanding that led to a queen betting on the wrong horse, a faux pas of the highest order. We've held our breath as a billionaire bluffed his way into a race, only to find his horse was more interested in grazing than galloping. We've watched as Hollywood stars, used to being in the spotlight, found themselves upstaged by their four-legged co-stars. And let's not forget our football legends, who quickly discovered that scoring goals on the pitch is a whole lot easier than picking the winning horse. Through all these tales, one thing remains clear. Horse racing is a game that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're a queen, a billionaire, a Hollywood star, or a football legend. It simply asks that you hold on tight, enjoy the ride, and remember to laugh along the way. And remember, no matter how much money you have, you can't always bet on having horse sense. Stay tuned for more hilarious tales from the stables.